Hey everyone, Charles here. And first of all, thank you for stopping by my podcast. If this show inspires you, makes you think, or gives you that courage to jump into action, please help by donating to this show. Click the link in the description and donate. Your donation helps us with production and finding great guests moving forward. Thank you and enjoy.
Amazon is offering sign-on bonuses up to $1,000, plus get up to $20 an hour for select roles. The best part? We're hiring near you. So start now to take home something greater. New, higher wages with a sign-on bonus, a range of real benefits, and career growth opportunities in a top-rated workplace. So earn more and see how great pay and sign-on bonuses can lead to a greater life for you. Go to amazon.com/apply. Amazon is an equal opportunity employer.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to the show. Welcome to The Jump. And if this is your first time here, this is what it's all about. I bring you interesting guests just like you and me with a story to tell. I figured if you can hear their story, it might give you enough courage to jump. And I don't mean jump up and down. I mean jump into your future, jump into greatness. Now, my next guest, he's got a story to tell. He's doing great things, but how did he get there? I want to know, and I know you want to know too. So stay tuned. Let's go.
You know you should be doing something different, right? Hey, I'm talking to you. Do you believe that you have the gift for greatness or have a special talent, but don't have the courage to take that next step? Always wondering how others made it look so easy? Well, welcome to Jump, the show that will bring you special guests just like you and me. How did they get the courage to jump into greatness? Doing what they love and living the good life. So, get ready to jump with your host, Charles Matthews Jr.
Yes, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. And please welcome my special guest, Zachary. Zachary, are you there?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Charles.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Great, thank you.
That's good. That's good. Now, I've been doing some research, doing some background. You're a man of many talents. But before we dive into that, let's get to know you a little bit more, because I like when my guests get to know you, how you got started, what you've been up to, and where you go from there. So give us the way back, the born and the raised.
Yeah, born and raised in Toronto, Ontario. I lived in Toronto my whole life and went to Western University. Just graduated from there recently in 2019. And I guess that's kind of where my story begins.
Okay, but your story growing up, what did you want to do? Like as a little boy, what did you dream about? Like, did you put the Superman cape on? Were you flying around the house, or what was the big dream you thought that you're going to be growing up?
I think if you had asked me at that time, I think my answer was I wanted to be an orthodontist.
Okay,
But that didn't pan out too well.
I've never heard someone say that. Like growing up as a kid, you just wanted to dive in someone's teeth and just go from there, right?
I didn't even know what an orthodontist really did. I just knew that they made a lot of money at the time. So 5-year-old me would have said that, I think.
Well, that's a good answer. So tell us, growing up, what was different from you growing up in Toronto?
Different. How do you mean?
Well, see, everybody has a story. Like, they were always the hockey player, growing up with a group, always partying. What was your story growing up?
I don't know. I think I was kind of the nerdy kid that loved Star Wars and Lego, which, I think it's pretty normal. But yeah, I think I was kind of a bit of a nerdy kid.
So what was your favorite game?
Favorite game? Anything to do with Lego or Star Wars, whatever it was, I loved it.
Right. So growing up and before you're an entrepreneur or a company, what did you do? Tell us your story.
Yeah, I guess my story kind of starts in high school. I had a little bit of a struggle with mental health issues growing up and learning disabilities and clinical depression. And that's part of my story, but I don't let it define me. And allowing myself to sort of turn that page and become who I've become now, I think it tells a pretty good story in that sense.
Yeah, and the reason I wanted you to come on the show, because the learning disability part, growing up, I had the same thing. And I can tell I'm older than you, but it doesn't fade. You know what I mean? Things happen in different generations. So can we touch on that a little bit? How did you go through it? What helped you? What did you find out that maybe your story can help somebody else?
Yeah, so it all kind of came down to one conversation that I had with an older friend of mine who sort of, is an unofficial mentor to me. Yeah, the conversation that we had took place around 2 a.m. around the campfire during the summer of 2015. And at that point, I was pretty lost in my life. I didn't know exactly where I wanted to be going. I was kind of just going through the motions and floating through life, but had no real direction. So it was a conversation that I had with him that, it really spoke to me and resonated with me. There were things that my parents and teachers had always told me about, take responsibility for your actions. You have the ability, you just have to make the decisions to do the work. Taking responsibility and starting to lead my life in a direction where I was going to see some success. That was up to me. And hearing it come from a friend and a mentor versus a parent or a teacher, someone that I didn't exactly want to listen to, hearing it come from a friend who had no skin in the game, whether or not I was successful, that resonated the most with me. And that was when I turned it all around.
And I think parents that are listening right now have to swallow that pill, because
Yeah.
don't understand that we don't want to listen to our parents. Our parents can tell us 1,000 times, "Don't worry, you're good. Everything is good. You're great. You know what you're doing." We're like, "Yeah, you're our parents. You have to say that."
Yeah.
But when a buddy says it or somebody outside says it, you're like, "Oh, wait, maybe my mom and dad were telling me the truth. Okay, maybe I'll listen some more." And then you go from there, because tell them we don't, I'm sorry, mom and dad listening, but parents out there, you can only tell your kids so much. And I'm finding that out as a dad, that I can tell my son so many things, but it takes his friends and other people out there. Was there like one teacher that you gravitated to that you were like, "Oh, okay"?
Yeah, I definitely had some teachers growing up that were on both sides where I didn't listen at all, and then some that I wanted to listen to. But yeah, I definitely, back to your point of being a parent, I'm not looking forward for the day when I'm trying to teach my kids these same lessons. I know they're not going to listen. It's got to come from somewhere, but eventually there'll be that day where it turns around and they can look at you and say, the same way I did with my parents, and say, you were right about these things all along. I just wasn't ready to listen.
Well, let me touch on that, because I love that part where you just said. Can you tell us, like, when have you gone to your mom and dad and go, "Okay, yeah, you guys are right"? What was that feeling like?
Yeah, I mean, the tensions were lifted, and all the wrongdoings were righted. It was pretty much exactly right after that conversation that I mentioned earlier. I called my parents and told them I was going to drop out of university and take a year off. Um, Told them that it was time to start taking responsibility for my life, and they really were excited about that. They knew all along, like, it was the right decision. Um, and yeah, our relationship got so much better after that.
Yeah, and that's good to hear, that your parents in general can see it, feel it, and understand what they're going through. So now you've gone to that next level. You talk to your parents. The mentor talked to you. You're taking the year off. What are you doing? What are you doing during that year?
Yeah, I decided to work construction, a job I hadn't worked before, and interestingly enough, it was my first day. That was the hottest day of the year. So I was working outside. I was sweating. I had no idea what I was doing. It's not like the guys I was working with were not exactly super friendly to me on the first day. They're trying to weed out the weak ones. So it was tough, to say the least. And to make matters worse, I decided to bike to work. I didn't drive because it was in my neighborhood. So I had to bike home and I was exhausted. It was, yeah, that was a real slap in the face. But I knew that if I showed up and kept on showing up, things would get easier. So,
You,
so that's what I did.
you would get the respect that like this kid keeps coming back. All right, something about this kid we gotta hang on to because he keeps coming back. Is that what it was?
Yeah, exactly. And then I was able to work my way up and gain respect of the crew, and eventually become sort of a project manager, site manager by the end of that year. After which I went back to university.
Hold on. So in that same year, you jumped that fast?
Yep. Worked all the way up. I ended up leaving that crew with one of the other guys who wanted to start his own, and so he brought me along as sort of a right hand man to him. So that was I had a couple guys underneath me.
Wow. See, that's phenomenal because from what we want to do to what we can do is two different things. So, all right. So then after that, what are you doing?
After that, I go back to university. But it was during that year I decided I wanted to do something that was going to have a massive impact on myself and other people. So that was the year that I decided I wanted to hike from Mexico to Canada. I didn't tell anyone about it. I kept it very low key. I didn't want to talk about it until I was 100% certain of how I was going to do it. So for about 3 years, I silently planned, and then my last year of university, I took the plan and started bringing it to action.
All right, so let's dive into it because that was one of the reasons when we found each other. I read your story. I'm like, what's going on with this guy? What is he doing? I had to read it. I had to read it more than once to make sure I heard it correctly.
Yeah.
So you hiked, and when they say hike, let's get the real deal of the word hike. What does hiking mean? Okay.
So it means my entire life was in my backpack. I had about a 50-pound backpack on, and I was hiking up and down a mountain, like mountains along a mountain crest, all the way through California, Oregon, and Washington from the Mexican border into Canada. It took me about 4.5 months. And, it wasn't just a walk in the woods. Like every day I was going up and down the CN Tower an average of 2.5 times.
Okay, so let me just understand this. Construction in the heat wasn't enough for you.
Exactly.
You wanted to put a 50-pound bag on your back and go for a walk. That's what it seemed like to me. I'm like, he wanted to put 50 pounds on his back and go for a walk. Now, this walk ain't gonna be an easy walk because the weather's gonna change on you. You had days with rain, sun. Like, tell us how it like. Give us the nitty gritty. I don't want people to think, oh, that was nice. No, I want people to understand what you really did for 4 months backpacking. Okay, let's break it down. Your whole life is on your back. Your clothes, your like, what did you eat? How did you stop? Where did you camp? Like, let's get to the nitty gritty.
Yeah. So where did I camp? I slept in a tent every night, just on the side of the trail. Food. I ate a lot of Pop-Tarts, a lot of peanut butter, a lot of instant noodles, that kind of stuff. A lot of I'm so sick of Cliff Bars. I can't eat another Cliff Bar in my life. And yeah, about every 4 to 5 days, the trail would cross a road that I could hitchhike on into town. So I'd hitchhike into town, pick up some supplies, typically hitchhike back out, and get back going.
Now, what are you thinking this whole time, and why did you want to do it? That's the part that I'm like, for me, I'm trying to think, why does this guy want to do this? What made you? I know you said you didn't talk to anybody, but what was the thrill or the excitement or the clarity that you wanted to go for this walk?
Yeah, I wanted to do something that was, could actually start to build my name and my legacy. So when I was my age, both my grandparents, when my grandparents were my age, both of them had fought in a war, which is, kind of a timely thing for today's Remembrance Day. And, thinking about, what men had to do generations before, people in general had to do generations before. You know, fighting in a war, for example, at in your early 20s. That's something that your grandkids can say. My grandfather did X, Y, Z. So I wanted something that could start building my legacy like that. So now my grandkids can say, when my grandfather was 23 years old, he hiked from Mexico to Canada and raised $10,000 for mental health, and that's something that's impactful, I think.
Yes, and let's stick a pin on that one because we didn't talk about why you were doing it, and we didn't talk about what the reason was. Like, you're raising funds, you're raising awareness. So let's put that in there because people might be thinking he just went for a walk. No, he didn't just go for a walk. You were letting people know that this is something out there. People should know about how we can change this, giving people a perspective on it. And along the way, you also raised some money, which a lot of charities can't raise what you raised. So tell us about how the charity worked.
Yeah, Charles. I'll tell you a little bit about the charity. So it's called Youth Assisting Youth, and it's based here in Toronto. They're a pure mentorship and mental health focused charity that pairs up underprivileged youth that have a mental health diagnosis or a learning disability, for example, with a peer mentor who's of the a relatively close age bracket that can be a friend, a teacher, mentor to them, and help them through some pretty tough situations.
Yeah, and then what I was talking to my last guest before you came on, that during COVID right now, it's not really easy for certain people. You know, the routine has changed, things have changed. So this is a great organization to be helping out people, and you in general, you have to think about what we can do to help others right now to be coping with COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, COVID, threw a real wrench in a lot of people's plans, with job loss or job insecurity. It all trickles down to things like food insecurity and maybe not having a great situation at home, and now you're stuck at home. So with all those things tied together, I can imagine that the mental health crisis is only getting worse.
Right, right. So what I want to talk about is getting to that next level. You set a goal for yourself, you achieve the goal. Now how you finding out what you did is helping people. When they hear your story, how does it make you feel?
Yeah, it makes me feel pretty proud. But to the same token, I'll be a little bit vulnerable for a moment here. Today is the birthday of one of a close friend of mine who took his own life just about a year ago now. Um, and this was right after I had gotten home from doing this walk and raising all this money for mental health and sharing my story on news outlets, talking about the battles with depression that I had had when I was younger, and to lose somebody so close to me right after that was pretty tough. And it just at first it made me feel as though what was it all for? But after reassessing and thinking through it, it just served as a reminder that there's still more work to be done, and we still have to continue raising awareness, continue raising funds, and talking about it, opening up the conversation, and reducing the stigma around it.
Well, let's talk about that. There's something you just said right there, talking about it, the stigma around it. Do you feel we clam up? Do you feel like, oh, we don't want to talk about it, or if we have a kid or somebody that we know, we don't want to really say what they have or talk about it? Why is that?
I think we're getting better about that. I think it's a societal change that needs to happen around, especially men's mental health. Guys don't want to talk about their feelings, and I understand that that's sort of where societal norms have developed. But I think we're getting better, and I'm seeing more changes in that lens. There's more work that needs to be done.
Yeah, so I'm going to put it out there first. Listen, men, macho or not, we have this signal to, oh, I'm a man, we beat our chest and everything. But at the same time, guys, you got to be man enough to admit and to ask for help. That's what a true man is. He can admit it and ask for help. There's nothing wrong with that. So anybody that's listening right now, please reach out, because there's nothing wrong with that. That shows true character of a man, that you could say, listen, I need help, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. So I'm glad that you mentioned that as well. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to dive about that little logo on your chest and talk about that business and talk about what else has been going on. So stay tuned. Don't go nowhere. You're listening to The Jump.
Do you want to achieve your dreams and ambitions?
Amazon is offering sign-on bonuses up to $1,000, plus get up to $20 an hour for select roles. The best part? We're hiring near you. So start now to take home something greater. New, higher wages with a sign-on bonus, a range of real benefits, and career growth opportunities in a top-rated workplace. So earn more and see how great pay and sign-on bonuses can lead to a greater life for you. Go to amazon.com/apply. Amazon is an equal opportunity employer.
Excuse me, I noticed the gas pump discounted your price by 20 cents a gallon.
Yep, with my Smart Pay Rewards app at Certified Oil, I get 10 cents off year-round plus an extra 10 cents off this summer.
Every time you fill up, you get 20 cents off every gallon?
Every time this summer.
So if I give you the cash, can I use your Smart Pay Rewards app?
It's easy to get your own. It's free to join and free to use.
Download the Smart Pay Rewards app and sign up to save 20 cents a gallon this summer at Certified Oil and 10 cents a gallon the rest of the year. Details at smartpayrewards.com.
Yes, I'm back with my special guest, and I'm so honored for you to be here. Now, if you're just getting into the show and you want to know what you missed my man walking, not just walking. How long did you walk for?
4.5 months.
I still can't think of that. 4.5 months outside, backpacking, 50 pounds on his back, 4 months raising funds and awareness, $10,000. And it's all for a great cause. And I just thought to myself, good on you, my friend. How many pairs of shoes did you go through?
Yeah, I actually only went through 3 pairs of shoes, which was pretty surprising. I was able to get 1,000 miles out of a pair of one specific pair each. It's pretty solid.
So before we get into the company, the little birdie on your chest, I want to know what's next for you, because after you eat that 30-pound steak, it's like, a 10-pound and 20 doesn't seem like S anymore. You've done the ultimate walk. What's next for you? What's the next challenge?
You know what? I'll tell you, it's funny actually. As I was approaching the border on the last day, I knew that everything had culminated up to this point. This was all my hard work coming to fruition. And, I was so excited to get to the border and finally be done with this, take off the painful backpack and throw it all down. When I got to the border, I didn't feel as excited as I thought I was going to feel. I was left a little bit unsatisfied. It wasn't as powerful of a moment, just because the journey was actually a lot more important than the destination. So I was left sitting there feeling, what's next? So I had the same question as you have now. And so what's been next? This about a month and a half ago, I ran my first ultra marathon. It was just a mini ultra marathon. I did a 50K run, just ran 25 kilometers away from my apartment and turned around. But I want to train towards maybe doing an ultra marathon of 100 miles or something next summer. So that might be next.
All right. So when you say ultra marathon, what's tell everybody if they don't know what that is.
Yeah, so it's just a longer run than a traditional marathon. So I did 50 kilometers, which is 8 kilometers longer than a traditional marathon. But I want to go for maybe 100 miles, which would be about 170 kilometers.
Listen, you let us know when you're doing that, man. I will listen. My followers will support you on that one, my friend, because if you're doing these great things, somebody's got to be recognized, and you know what it is. We got to get that awareness out there. What you're doing, because these are some great feats you're doing, but you're not just doing them for yourself. You're doing it for others, and that's the main thing I love about doing this show. Finding guys like you that are doing great things for other people. You know what I mean? Not for the recognition. You know, recognition is great. You'll get it at the end, but you didn't set out for the recognition. You set out for a goal. And that's the main thing I love about it.
Yeah, completely. I mean, the whole story is that I don't think that I'm special. So if I am able to do it, especially having the challenges that I dealt with as a younger kid, you know, dealing with depression at a young age, if I can come through and come out the other side and complete these challenges, you know, what are you capable of?
Good point. What's stopping you? If he can do it, we can all do it. All right, so let's get into the little birdie on your chest. Talk
Absolutely.
about that.
Yeah, so this is the logo of Sick Bird Productions. We're a full service production company that specializes in creating content for brands, studios, paid media. So essentially, we help brands create awesome, video content, graphic design, copywriting, audio engineering, everything to do with creating content and showcasing their brand.
So how did this come about?
Yeah, so this is a company that a good friend of mine had started just about a year ago now, and during COVID, I decided I wasn't really too happy with the direction that I was going in my career, so I decided to approach her and see if we could work on a partnership together. So we're trying to build this business up and reach more clients. So that's where I've come in to try to increase our client base. The work that we've done for our previous clients, they've been super happy with. We just need a little bit more, manpower to get this into the hands of more folks.
Right, and then I want everybody to be listening. Like, let's listen back to our first part of this conversation. Growing up with a disability, not letting it stop you, finding out your goal, moving forward, doing great feat, now an entrepreneur. Did you ever, if you can go back in time and talk to your little self, what would you tell them?
Keep playing with the Legos, because that allowed you to learn how to creatively problem solve and build things from scratch. And those are some of the skills that are important now for me.
Right. Now, when people see where you come from, do you talk to little kids? Do you speak? Like, do you go out and do speaking engagements?
Yeah, with the charity, I did a number of speaking engagements. I'd love to do more. It's just something that I haven't developed too much recently.
And what do you talk about? Like, when you go on stage and see all these eyes looking at you, what's the message you want to get out to them?
Looking back from the lessons that I learned from the trail, there's a few key lessons that I like to talk about. One of them is never quit on a bad day. If you're doing something hard and you're having a really tough day, think about it, take a step back and wait it out. Wait out for a good day. And on that good day, if you still feel like quitting, then you're allowed to quit. But if you're not going to quit on a bad day, stick it out to a good day and see how we feel. Another lesson that I learned was, there is no finish line. Just as I was mentioning before, as soon as you get to the finish line, I was left with a feeling of dissatisfaction. I needed to think of a new finish line to be working towards, because the journey is, again, more important than the destination.
Okay, so I'm stealing those, by the way. I'm stealing those. I'm putting it on the air. I like that one. I like the one where you say, "Don't quit on a bad day." You know what I mean? Because that when you said that, I'm thinking you're so frustrated, you're angry. You just said, "Oh, I'm done. Forget it. I'm not doing this anymore." And then when you calm down, you realize I really like doing this. Okay, I just messed up somewhere. Where did I mess up on? And then you realize that it wasn't that bad after all. So I love what you just said there. Take some time, walk away, and come back. And number two is the finish line. I like that. But I was gonna let you go, but I got now that I got one more question for you because I have to ask it. What were you thinking about during this time? Because now this is the ultimate me time. You know what I mean? Some people go to the movies by themselves, they go to the coffee shop and read the book just to learn about themselves. What did you learn about? You got 4 months, my friend. What did you learn about yourself?
Yeah, the lesson learned about myself is, I think when you take a look at something in a vacuum, in isolation, place someone on a desert island, and there's nobody watching. What do they do? What are the actions that they take? Do they keep themselves alive? Do they survive? Do they thrive? And in that situation where it's me against the wild here. Like, how many miles am I going to put behind me? I think like learning that consistency and that grind hustle mentality. That definitely was a big takeaway about myself. I never once thought about quitting. Even through all the pain my legs were in, I had my blisters all over my feet. I had scrapes all over my back from my backpack digging in. I was exhausted. But I never thought about going home. It was never a real consideration. So, having that grind mentality and that hustle mentality is what kept me going.
All right. Before I let you go, we have to play one quick game. You ready? It's called Rapid Fire. I'm just going to rapid some questions at you, and you just tell me what comes to your head. You ready?
Let's go.
Favorite music?
House music.
Favorite song that you were singing to yourself on the trail?
Inner Bloom by Rufus Du Sol.
Favorite food?
Sushi.
There's a book. What book would you recommend?
Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins.
Favorite sport?
Rugby.
Favorite superhero?
That's a tough one.
Listen, you walked for 4 months. I'll give you two.
I always liked Spider-Man and Batman growing up.
Spider-Man and Batman. Well, hold on. That's two different combos right there.
Two different universes.
Yeah, that's interesting because one is all bubbly and he wants to tell those jokes, and one's all serious. So I like it. I like it. And before we go, what is your hidden talent?
Hidden talent. That's a tough one. I don't know if I have any. I think I'm pretty open about it. My hidden talent's probably ping pong because I only play that in my basement with my dad.
There you go. There you go. And I bet you any money you make a mean peanut butter sandwich, right?
A peanut butter and Pop-Tart sandwich.
Well, my friend, this has been a pleasure and an honor to have you on my show. But before I let you go, I'm going to give you the opportunity to shout out anybody you want to shout out, to say anybody out there, or to leave one final message. I'm giving the floor to you.
Yeah. For anybody listening who owns a brand and is looking for any content, we'd love to collaborate with you guys at sickbirdproduction.com. A quick shout out to all my friends from Western, and it's a tough day today with Jeff's birthday, but I'm thinking of you guys.
All right, my friend. Listen, on that note, think of somebody else. If you haven't talked to somebody in a while today, pick up the phone, call them, let them know that you're thinking about them, because everybody needs that phone call now and then. You didn't have to listen, but I'm glad that you did. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, my friend, for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you for listening.
Amazon is offering sign-on bonuses up to $1,000, plus get up to $20 an hour for select roles. The best part? We're hiring near you. So start now to take home something greater. New, higher wages with a sign-on bonus, a range of real benefits, and career growth opportunities in a top-rated workplace. So earn more and see how great pay and sign-on bonuses can lead to a greater life for you. Go to amazon.com/apply. Amazon is an equal opportunity employer. Amazon is offering sign-on bonuses up to $1,000, plus get up to $20 an hour for select roles. The best part? We're hiring near you. So start now to take home something greater. New, higher wages with a sign-on bonus, a range of real benefits, and career growth opportunities in a top-rated workplace. So earn more and see how great pay and sign-on bonuses can lead to a greater life for you. Go to amazon.com/apply. Amazon is an equal opportunity employer.
Hey, hope you had a great time listening to the show. If you think I did a great job, please buy me a coffee. I still got a lot of work to do. We would love to hear from you, your feedback, so please click the link and leave us a review. You can help us grow by following us on all social media platforms and sharing this link. Once again, it's time for you to jump. Success is waiting.